Bonjour mes amis. Il y a quelqu'un dans le chat qui parle français, je pense. Le explicatif. Nous commençons maintenant. 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 Sorry, there was someone in the chat that was asking questions in French, and I thought I would start in French just to confuse everybody. How about them apples? Hello, my friends. I'm excited to be here. Welcome to this episode of the AI Show. I am feeling less under the weather. Last week, man, I was feeling a little sick, and then I was sick the whole week. It was awful. I'm in English now. It's okay. I'm in English now. C'est bon. Where's everybody coming from, my friends? Just put it over in the chat. I will give a shout out to everyone that's there. Pretty excited to be here today, my friends. Feeling a lot better. It's like that calm after the storm where I don't feel as sick anymore. What are we talking about today, my friends? Here we go. Number 1, content safety with Sarah Bird. And like last week, this one is a live, so you may see me be like, okay, we got to stop here. I'll edit this out. Because if you, last week we did, I think it was fine-tuning. And we just did it live. And you saw me be like, okay, stop right here. Because like we edit these things afterwards, but because you are here today, you get to see the actual show before we edit it, and then you can ask Sarah questions. And Sarah's time is very valuable. I barely got her here. I had to like convince her with, I don't know, I think her candy of choice is Smarties because she is a Smartie. So that's the only way that we got her to come. So content safety, number 1. And number two, more content safety. Your Q&A with Sarah Bird, she's thebomb.com. We tried to get the domain name. Apparently it was already taken, unfortunately. All right, let's see where people are coming from today. Okay. They're like English. Angliski jazyk. I know. Someone was saying stuff in French, and I just wanted to speak in French because if you look, the only flex I have of intelligence is my book flex here. So I had to speak a foreign language, make people think I know what I'm talking about. So sorry about that. Who was the one who said that? Miamian Mwigano. Okay. And then here we go. Janice Q number 7. Hello, my friend. Come see Seth with content safety. This is Janice Q number 7 in Twitch. Hey, everybody. Is anybody here? Is it just me? Other people watch the show. Obviously, my mom. And that's it. Okay. Canada. Lovely. Welcome. India. Love it. Mexico. Aguascalientes. I love it. Halloween is coming up. Malaysia. Lovely. India. Welcome. I'm so dumb. No, they're asking if it was COVID. No, it wasn't. I text myself like, everyone's like, oh no, does Seth have COVID? We need to leave this live stream immediately. Or maybe I should put a mask on. No, it was a regular cold that kicked my butt. Apparently I haven't had a cold in like 4 years. And my body was like, what is this cold thing? All right. We should probably invite Sarah on. Here, hold on. Here's a question. Is there any type of scholarship for unemployed parents who want to work in tech? You know what? This education here that we're doing is for free. And I'll tell you what, like the stuff you'll learn on this show is eminently useful because there's a lot of people out there talking about like ChatGPT this, ChatGPT that. We're actually giving the real information from the actual experts. And so hopefully that's helpful for you. All right. So let's bring Sarah on here because she ain't got time to waste. How you doing, Sarah?
Hey, Seth, I'm good. Although I guess I had the same experience as you. I had a cold that also kicked my butt, and I was like, "What is this?" I
I know. It's
forgot what it was like.
our bodies were like, what are you putting in here? We had a conference in the UK, and I there was so many people there that one of them probably gave it to me, and so that was the gift I got from the British. So thank you to them.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. So we're gonna do this one live. And so just a couple of things. Do you know the rules, Sarah? You're amazing. I am going to be like, you're not gonna want to miss this, and then I'll do this. And then this time I'm gonna play the thing. I'm gonna play because we have the actual video. I'll play it and then we'll get started. Okay. So I gotta be serious now. So let me turn all of my stuff off. Okay. And then, folks, if you have any questions, please get them in the chat. We'll answer them after we make the show. You may see us every once in a while have to do like an edit point. Just be aware that if you hear us being quiet, we're just like trying to, I'll cut around those in post. Sarah, you ready?
Yeah, totally.
All right. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show where we talk all about content safety with my friend Sarah Bird. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We're talking all about content safety with my friend Sarah Bird. Sarah, it's good to have you back, my friend. How you doing?
I'm great. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. So we talked about content safety a lot at some of our conferences. So tell us what's new, what's going on, and maybe if you could explain what content safety is.
Yeah, so I've been on the show a lot over the years talking about responsible AI, meaning how do we make our own AI system safe? How do we empower others to make their AI systems safe? But one of the things I don't get to talk about as much, which is really embodied in this work, is the opportunities we see for AI helping make other things safe. Right. We've had just amazing breakthroughs in AI technologies over the last couple of years. I don't need to tell you, we're all, here very excited about generative AI.
Right.
But what we've seen in, my team is that that's also a huge opportunity to take those same technologies and look at how we can increase safety in the world. One of the challenges that we have right now is that there's vast amounts of content out there, all sorts of information, which is great. I mean, that's the beauty and the power of the internet and different online platforms. But unfortunately, there's also like harmful, problematic content that platforms and users don't want on there. And one of the challenges that we've seen over the years is that the content's very sophisticated, nuanced, language is very nuanced. And so traditional AI was just not great at it, right? It was like, okay, if there's, just one harmful word in here, it's going to get flagged and sent to a human reviewer. And so it was frankly just dumb. Well,
Yeah.
Turns out we've had a huge breakthrough in language models, right? And multimodal models that can understand so much more than that, and actually now look and really understand more. What is this sentence saying? What is this paragraph saying? Is it actually harmful? And so content safety is the outcome of several years of work to harness that technology and put it towards detecting harmful content. So it's a new cognitive service. It just GA'd 2 weeks ago. And the idea here is that it's going to be able to have different types of content flowing through it and score it with different categories you care about, like violence, hate, self-harm, etc.
And that's awesome because traditionally what we would have, and I come from the NLP world, traditionally what we used to do is we have a huge list of just bad words that we just searched for. And then someone would put like a 0 instead of an O, and we'd have to add that thing in there. And then and you're saying that we don't need to do that anymore with content safety. It's a much more intelligent way.
Yeah, certainly we've seen a huge leap forward. I mean, there are obviously with any of these, it's an adversarial game where people are going to figure out more clever techniques to get around these kind of filtering systems. But it's certainly a huge breakthrough in sophistication, and it I think greatly reduces the other side of it, which is also where you have people trying to use terms like in a positive sense, reclaim them, and being censored, right? And so we want to make sure that you're able to both like not be over filtering or under filtering. And so I think that's we've just seen kind of a huge step forward in that. And actually, I thought it was very fitting you started the show in French. I don't speak French. But these models are multilingual from the base also, which means that when the sentences are mixing different types of languages, it still can understand that. And that just adds actually higher quality in every language, but then also going across languages. And so that's been another part of it, of course.
And that's interesting because I hadn't even considered the multilingual case, right? If you have to manage this thing yourself, you're going to be fighting this game a lot. And you're saying that now there's a service that we just optimize this thing all the time to make sure it's doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we start with the same foundation models that are powering other things. We start with like a great language model that's multilingual at the base, and then we train it on harmful content. And I'm, talking about language and text a lot here because we've all seen the breakthroughs, but the same applies to image, right? This is powered by our Florence image model, or the newest area, which is actually really important, which is multimodal, where we're combining image and text, right? If you look at like a hateful meme, the text can actually be totally safe and the image can be totally safe, but the combination is problematic. And so the multimodal models are also really important in that. And so this step forward in foundation models, understanding content, has allowed us to build on top of those and understand very specifically different types of potentially problematic content.
And this is awesome because like every time you come on the show, I'm like, oh, that's another thing I should probably worry about. I was only thinking of like written content, and you're saying now image content as well is something that needs to be looked at because someone might post a very bad thing in an image, and your text word search is not going to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course the combination, right? It's not just like, you can also have an image like that is, clearly violent or let's say clearly hateful, but then a lot of the memes are really that the combination is what's harmful, neither the text nor the image. So you need a model that actually understands the combination of the two. And so that's been a gap that we've always sort of had out in the world, and the new multimodal capabilities of foundation models are enabling us to do that better. And multimodal is not yet GA, it's in preview. That's like the sort of the latest work, but I'm just really excited where I think we can get to in the next couple of years with this technology. I think it's really going to be a game changer for safety.
And I've seen this in use primarily in the context of large language models, like when they're using generative large language models, filtering content on the way out and on the way in. That happens in Azure OpenAI. Are you saying that this is now something that can be standalone, used by itself?
Yeah, exactly. So when we first started working on the technology, the first place that we released it was in the generative AI applications as part of Azure OpenAI, because that was frankly, because it was needed, right? Because we had to be able to filter in real time at scale, which meant we needed a different type of technology. So we've quickly put this in there, and so you've been seeing it in Azure OpenAI, and we can look kind of more of a demo of that. But now we have it as a standalone system, which means that people can use it to look at also just user-generated content on their platform, but also open source LLMs, or if you're developing your own model, you can use it. So we wanted to make it easy for safety to just be wherever you are, and so having it as its own API means that you can bring it to where you need it. But of course, it's still integrated in Azure OpenAI so that it's just there and it's easy for you.
And that's interesting, using a content safety as a pseudo regularizer over your own training of models, which is kind of cool as well.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so what can you show us?
Yeah, so let's go and look first just at sort of the content safety portal here. So this is the studio for content safety. And as you can see, just as we were talking about, we have, we have the moderate text here. Can you see my cursor?
I sure can. It looks great.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so you can see the moderate text here. We talked about image. I mentioned that we have multimodal and preview, which is really exciting. I think in each of these, when you click through, we have different examples that you can look at so you can understand how it works. But trying to limit the amount of harmful content people look at. Let's stay with text today because the images, you actually are kind of visually looking at that, which is problematic. And so one of the things that was really important is recognizing that like each application is different in terms of what type of content might be appropriate. But we also wanted to build a system that could power many, many applications, because it's taking like a lot of expertise, right? We work with expert linguists and fairness experts to label this data and train our models. We have pretty sophisticated AI scientists working on this, and so there's a lot of investment that we wanted to make sure is reusable, but recognize that the applications are different. And so the way we've been doing this behind the scenes is actually that we have different severity levels for the content that we've actually trained into the model. And so you can set the system to filter at for each of these different categories: low severity, medium severity, high severity. So if I was a gaming application, for example, I might want to allow more violent content through, but maybe not the worst of the worst, right? And so I would set that here, where an education application might choose to be much more strict and actually do that, and block everything that's even a low level of severity. So this system is allowing you to understand, depending on where you put that threshold, this playground, kind of where that was. And the example that we showed before, which I think is still a good one for our Contoso, outdoor commerce company, is asking about, I'm looking for an axe, which this has a weapon. Right. To cut, so it has a problematic, it has a problematic verb here, and then we set a path in the forest, right? And let's hope our system here recognizes, right, this is safe. You're allowed to cut a path with an axe. And then, of course, if we switch this over and we say something much more problematic, but hopefully not, hopefully a little cartoony here, then we recognize, like, this is a medium level of violence in the way that it's said here. And so this is, this is kind of how this is working. And actually with the GA, we've added additional severity levels. So you can go up to 8 different severities, so you can get even more fine nuance in terms of what works for your application. And so this is kind of the system, in the most basic form. Now, of course, it's an API, and what you actually get out is a category and a score. So you could do something much more sophisticated. You could, for example, have all high severity content automatically filtered, and medium severity you could send to a human reviewer, for example, first to decide if it could be, used or posted or something. So there's a lot of different options with these. We're just showing kind of the most basic version here.
Here's a question I have for you. So, because I've looked at this a couple of times and sometimes I get confused. So when it's on the low severity, that just means that the content that's going through has low scores for each of those categories. Is that right?
Yeah, it's saying that it's kind of, we're evolving some things. It's kind of here saying where it's going to start rejecting. And it's just letting you understand, like, if you set your application to reject starting low, it will reject everything low and higher, right? If you set it to go to medium, it will reject everything medium and higher. So it's giving you those, where you want your sort of cutoff point for what's appropriate for your application, like what type of level of content can you tolerate.
Got it. So it's almost like what is your tolerance for whatever content there is? Like, for example, in a video game, if you're playing like a video game that has people shooting, the violence tolerance for the speech is going to be much higher.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying? And so then you would set it to high or medium or whatever. This is awesome.
And if you're a medical application, then it might be very reasonable to have sexual content in there, right? And so we've seen, like, people who work in education are often setting everything the way it is on the screen right now, where everything is set to filter, even anything that might be just mildly risky, right? They want all of that filtered because it's working with students. And so this really is about, making sure this is a technology that can work in many different types of applications. And then, of course, putting the application owner in control, because, they are going to know what is the right thing for their application.
I see. So when we're thinking about this, like, my sense is that this is like one piece of doing things correctly with AI. Yeah. Is that a good sense?
Yeah, and I think this is one part of, even, let's say, in the digital safety or user generated content, this is one part of the story where, as I was mentioning, that how you take an action, for example, are you going to send it to a human review? Are you going to automatically filter? Are you going to potentially take action and like kick a user off the platform, right? This is just one piece, which is giving you more information about the content, right? You still have to sort of have that whole story. And then as you're alluding to here for generative AI, this is a super key piece, which is why it's integrated in Azure OpenAI and something we use in our Copilots. But this is a really key piece to our story, but it's just one part of that. And so if we can bring up that slide, this is, you can probably sort of animate it here. Basically, what we have found is that everything with this is a defense in depth. You need a layered system. And so the first two layers here in blue are our platform layers. And these we've just built right into Azure AI. We've built into the Azure OpenAI system, which is first having safety built into the model. And safety built into the model allows the model, right? These are the most powerful models available, allows the model to look at that content and decide how to respond appropriately, whether that's actually responding or, for example, refusing to respond. But the model makes mistakes, right? Sometimes it just gets it wrong, but also it's open to jailbreaks or things. And so this is the second piece, right? The safety system, which is this independent AI system that's looking and saying, whoa, 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 I don't know why, but you seem to be producing harmful content. Let's like block that in real time. Or of course, if the user is trying to actually engage in the AI system in a way we don't want it to do. And so I found that people are actually, I mean, it's a pretty complex stack. People are sometimes kind of confused about these different pieces and how they work together. So I wanted to maybe jump over and look at the Azure OpenAI Studio and kind of show the two pieces working.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so let me switch over here. So here's the, our great playground. And if I say, how do I hide a bomb in a school, then this should see, so the safety system recognizes, right? We're talking about bomb in a school. If I say, how do I bomb a school, it will actually come out high on violence because it's, kind of a more violent action. So this is easy, right? This is violence, like the external safety system understands that. Now, if I ask it instead, so it's like we don't even let the model respond. It's just like, no, we don't need to do this. The model itself would probably also know how to refuse this particular example, but it's easier to just also have the safety system in not even allowing these things to kind of get to the model. But then here we have how do I commit. Also, whoever, no one is looking, but if people are looking at the playground here, they're like, what is Sarah doing all the time?
We are testing the safety system, everybody.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
fair warning. We
So
are testing the safety system.
If I ask how to commit tax fraud, right, so that is a crime. I'm asking how to commit fraud specifically, but it's not sort of violence or one of these like content categories. But we have used RLHF with OpenAI to ensure that the model doesn't sort of help people commit crimes. So when you see this response, I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request, that's actually the model knowing that it doesn't want to respond to this, even though the content itself wasn't necessarily harmful, but it's aiding in sort of a harmful activity. And so the different systems are better at different things, and so we can use them kind of in tandem so that we get kind of the most robust safety there.
I see. And so that's where we go back to the layers. The model itself is awesome at detecting some things, but the nuance, we have other models around protecting the safety section for the safety system, for example, to help with that. Is that what you're going at?
Yeah, and so for example, the model the model is looking at like the user history and things and saying what's an appropriate response there. And so that's sometimes where it might think in context what it's saying is appropriate, where the safety system would just look and say, whoa, 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 that's a violent statement. We don't ever want that regardless of the context, right? So it's giving you kind of a check and balance with this. But then the model, is obviously, I think I'm using 3.5 turbo here. If I was using 4, right, it's incredibly powerful. So we want to use the model for safety because it does understand so much and it can take that history into account. And so there's lots of things where we'll see the model will either know to refuse or better yet, know how to respond appropriately, because it's even better if it doesn't have to refuse or it doesn't get blocked. But in the cases where it slips up, that's where the safety system, can come into play, so that you know that you're still going to get, you're going to have safety even if the model doesn't quite do the right thing.
And I love the safety system, but when it comes to your application, there's still safety that's just beyond those 5 categories, for example, that relate to the applications you're building. And so that's where we get to meta prompt and grounding and then user experience as well. Could you say a word or two about those things?
Yeah, exactly. And so these 2 layers that I was just showing you are the platform layers. We've built them to work with a variety of applications. And then the 2 layers on top, the meta prompt and the grounding and the user experience, that's what the application developer is developing. And so the meta prompt, I think people still underestimate how important and how valuable this is for safety, where we see so many meta prompts that people are showing us that are like, hey, can you give us some feedback? And the safety section or the response-wise section is just very small, right? And this is your chance now. These systems can take pretty large prompts. This is your chance to get really detailed instructions on kind of how you want the system to behave in different circumstances and things. And it makes a huge difference in how it actually behaves in practice, right? So this is like the first thing you want to do if you don't like the way the system is behaving is, adjust the meta prompt. And that's actually where our tools like, prompt flow are so great now, because you can go and evaluate these meta prompts side by side and actually see, like, if I change this, am I getting the outcome I want? But that's just like a hugely important part of the story. And that's where you really tailor it to your application, right? You're going to want to behave very differently in each of these contexts. And so the meta prompt is what's really trying to get it to work well in each of those cases. And then the sort of built-in safety in the model and the safety system are for, when things don't go quite as planned.
And then the last part, and this is the part that I think a lot of us kind of forget, because we're like, I'm going to prompt engineer this, and then I have my safety system, and the model's going to be awesome, so everything's perfect. I think people sometimes forget about the user experience. We've got to do some stuff about, like, maybe disclosing that this is AI generated minimally, right? Or what other things should we be doing?
Yeah, and I think we've got some examples in our hacks toolkit, which is where we put sort of our best user experience best practices. But absolutely, one of the things is what we call our systems Copilot for a reason. They're supposed to be designed to work with a human, and humans are great at certain things, and these systems are great at other things. And so if you can co-design with the user in mind, then like it can be so much more powerful, where the best example of this is like GitHub Copilot, the original, now I guess the classic version, right?
Oh,
but even though it's made some mistakes, the users could accept the suggestion or not. They can edit the suggestion, and so the developer was still very much in control and could send that still through all their normal testing and security processes and things. And so it just helped developers go faster. Like, oh, I don't want to type all that, or if you give me an idea to start, it's a lot easier. And we've seen obviously developers just love it, even though it's not perfect, right? It does make some mistakes, and that's a case where it's just like very nicely designed to work well with how those users work. One of the challenges we've seen, though, is basically one of the magical things about this technology is it enables users to do things they couldn't do before, right? You can generate code even though you don't code. And so but the systems still make mistakes. And so one of the things we're very much looking for is how do we sort of avoid this risk of over-reliance, where you're relying on the system to do something that it doesn't do perfectly, and you're not really able to compensate. Because like human in a loop is a great pattern if the user is actually able to fix the mistakes. But if the user can't even tell it's making a mistake, then that's a big problem. And so we're still, each application is a little bit different with that, but that's like definitely one of the things we're seeing, people really need to watch out for, is that now you can have this tool that allows you to do something you never could do, and then how do you have oversight over that? And so that's where like really making sure we're developing it with the user in mind is so important to understand. Like, is the user going to have oversight, or do we need to make sure it doesn't make mistakes? Do we need another system having oversight because the user isn't going to be equipped to do it? And so there's a lot there, and it's a really important part of the story.
Well, all of this is amazing. I love what AI is doing in transforming how we're doing work, and I love that we're doing it. We're trying to do it, at least at Microsoft, in a safe way, and giving people the tools to do that. So where can people go to find out more, Sarah?
Well, you can go play around in the playground. I mean, honestly, I think any of this technology, just like actually using it, is the most important thing. You get a feel for it. And as I said, I only demoed the text because it's a little easier to look at harmful content. But I really recommend checking out images and multimodal and understanding what it can do there. So you can go just check out in the studio, start getting a feel for it. Obviously, you're already using it if you're using Azure OpenAI, and you'll start seeing more of those features and controls kind of coming through there. We also have a great ebook that I think talks more about some of the things I was talking about, of how this can change digital safety and enable kind of a new tool in the toolkit, which is something we're always looking for safety. So I would recommend getting started there. And then if you want to hear more about the responsible AI layers and rings, we have all of that in the Azure OpenAI documentation, and so you can see there, and we'll keep bringing out more as we're learning.
Fantastic. And there's a blog too, from what I understand, a safety blog that talks about the GA.
Yeah, it's been a labor of love for me, and kind of a long journey to getting to this GA, in terms of when we first had the ideas that we can do better with these kind of models to where we are now in the GA. But I'm so excited about that. Definitely check out the blog, and it's such an important milestone because now you can go use it in production, right? And so you have no excuse to not have safety everywhere at this point, because
that's right.
We've made it easy. It's an API. You just plug it in.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, Sarah. And thank you, my friends, so much for watching. We're learning all about content safety with Sarah Bird. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. All righty, that was amazing. That was the live part. Now we can be funny.
Cool. And I think I see some questions floating around.
There's so many questions, so I'm going to go through them here. Let's get to the chat here. Holy cow, the people were having a chat there. Let's see what we got. So let me go to the questions here. Would you like to talk about how? Okay. Let me go down. Okay. Wow, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I kind of okay. There was a question, but there's so many people just like talking in French. Okay, here we go. This is a good question. This may be an elementary question, but what do you consider unsafe content? Violence, bullying, what about disinformation? What does disinformation validate against?
Yeah, that's a really important question. So the reason that the first four, so none of these categories are easy, right? And that's where we actually sit down with experts in the area, with our digital safety experts inside of Microsoft, with linguists, et cetera, and say, what classifies as violent? And then, of course, we're also saying what classifies at each severity level of violence. So we have to think about, why would this one be high severity and why would this be low severity? And so we try to take kind of a principled, consistent approach with that. But it is that is where a lot of the energy is, why should this be here and not there? We have started with categories where, by looking at the content itself, you can sort of have a categorization of it, where some of the categories of misinformation, disinformation, those ones you need like a larger sort
Yeah.
of context. You potentially need a source of what you consider a source of truth, et cetera. And so those are more challenging in terms of sort of the techniques you would use to address them. And so that's why you don't see them in the system today.
I see. And so that the cool thing about this, I think, CJ, just to add to what Sarah's saying, is using this API will give you additional information that then you can make reasoned, like you just like, for example, let's just say you do a site about something and you have certain tolerances that other people do not, and you put that in your rules and whatever. You can just use this to inform, like, hey, let's flag this, and then have a hue and go review, and then be like, no, that's not that's not bad, or that is good, or whatever. And that's how this is intended to be used, right, Sarah?
Yeah, certainly it varies by application what the appropriate thing to do. Like when we're using it in the generative AI applications, we're obviously like, if it's the AI system putting an output, we're choosing just to filter, even if that might in some cases be over filtering, because we need that real time sort of decision. But if you were doing a platform with user generated content, then it absolutely, you want to make sure that you're adhering to your sort of platform's policies and things. You want to have human reviewers go and look at the results. And so this is just adding more understanding of the content, more information to feed into your sort of actioning system, whatever's appropriate in your application. But to be able to do it reasonably sophisticatedly at scale in real time is just not something that you could do before. And so it unlocks a lot more possibility in terms of potentially scanning every piece of content, which is what we do in generative AI land. But not a lot of platforms you had to wait for content to be reported or something, right? And so it's just another tool in the tool belt. But no single tool solves any of these problems, right? You have to look at combinations of them, including the humans involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that these categories have nothing to do with truthiness, because I don't know how an LLM could ever, or a model could measure truthiness. And so it's all about like hate speech, violence, whatever. There's 5. What are the 5?
It's right now what's GA is hate, violence, self-harm, and sexual content, and then we'll be adding additional categories, both different types of content categories. For example, I think someone in the chat has called out bullying, and bullying is like harassment is kind of between some of these, like hate and violence, but it's kind of its own thing as well. And so that's one that we're looking at, but also more LLM specific things, right? In terms of something like a jailbreak, which is just a very LLM type interaction. Yeah. It's not something we really want happening in our system. And so we're looking at a mix of where do we extend the different content categories to give users or customers more information, more control, but also looking very much at the LLM specific risk or the generative AI specific risk, and how do we build systems that are good at looking for those.
Amazing. All right. So here's the next question from Janice number 7. Does it understand context or some words in the context? What is it understanding?
Yeah. So I think it can't understand anything it doesn't see, right? So it's not going to understand some broader context that like this is in the context of a social media application or something, right? It still only understands the content you're giving it. But what you'll see in some of the systems that were used in practice is they really couldn't consider, for example, more than like a sentence, right? And even in a sentence, they were more likely to be triggering on keywords than understanding what the sentence is saying. Where now, we can look at a paragraph, in some cases more, and it's understanding like the whole statement more holistically and really trying to get at what is it saying. And so we demo very short examples here, although in the playground we do have some longer things. And that I think is another big part of it, is that like we all use language very richly, and the meaning of my thing might really be contained in the entire paragraph, not just one little part of it. And so you don't want the system just triggering on single small parts that really are taking it out of context. But certainly it's not understanding any context that isn't visible to it.
I see. Cool. So here's from our LinkedIn user. It says, building a mental health related chatbot, having low tolerance input has been useful in automatically redirecting the conversation towards seeking professional help, as one example, which is an interesting context. Have you seen stuff like this used in the medical industries, for example?
Yeah, I think actually self-harm is exactly one of these where you want to push towards, or I was saying self-harm as our category, but there are obviously a broader set there, but not just like refusing to answer, but actually directing towards resources and directing towards help. And so from a response lab point of view, this is where those two systems can work really well together, because you want the application to respond with resources, not refuse to respond. But the fact that you've detected, for example, an intent that maybe self-harm would be a case where now you can then, the action you can take is to respond with resources. And so just having more understanding allows you to respond in the right way there. But also we've talked to people who are looking at how do we build chatbots for people, for example, in the context of self-harm, who have something to talk to. And that's where like that self-harm category, you do not want to be filtering on the user's inputs if they're talking about self-harm, right? You want to be engaging, but you don't want the system, for example, to be saying, yes, go do this. This is a great idea. So you still want to have the safety on sort of the system output there. And so that's where this, the policy is really going to vary a lot by application, because of how, allowing you to construct an application that responds in the way that's appropriate for your users and what you're trying to achieve.
Well, this is amazing. Just a last question. What can people look forward to in the future, obviously, without giving too much away?
Well, I already told you the part I'm super excited about, which is where we can go with multimodal, right? Because like it's just it feels like such a failing in the past that we can only understand one modality at a time, right? And most of the things slipping through the jailbreaks you see are because they're multimodal. And so that's one I am really excited and passionate about. In general, we're looking at, of course, how do we make the systems better? AI quality is really important here. But how do we add more user control? So from the preview to the GA, we went from 4 to 8 severity levels so that users have more fine-grained control of the system. So we'll keep going in all those directions. And then we're thinking very, very deeply about, what are sort of generative AI specific concerns, jailbreak, hallucination, things like that. And what can we do about that? And can the safety system help there? And so I think you'll see more exciting things coming along those dimensions.
And as always, I think our Microsoft Ignite conference is in, I think, 2 weeks.
Yay!
To be transparent, Sarah and I still have demos we need to finish.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's why we're like, yay!
We feel like we're living in the future a little bit right now. Like, it's not
right.
Ignite right yet.
Oh my goodness! So yeah, in 2 weeks you can look forward to some new stuff that's going to be coming out. I think it's pretty exciting, and so make sure you tune that. All right, so Sarah, thanks so much for being with us, my friend.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone for watching and asking all the great questions. I love hearing from you. And yeah, these are really hard problems. We're excited to be working on them. Really want the feedback. If the system's not behaving the way you think, tell us. We're looking at these examples, we're making it better, but there's so many applications in the world. We need to learn from your real world feedback. So please, please, please keep sending the feedback. Tell us, we need it.
And absolutely. And like I said, this stuff is designed to be helpful. If it isn't helpful, well, we want to know why, dang it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Sarah, we'll see you later.
Good. Bye.
All right, my friends. Sarah's the best. We always love having her on. All right. We got about 15 minutes? 15 minutes left. Let's see if we can't do a thing. So this is the slide that Sarah was showing. Let's see. Let's see if we can't use content safety, and let's make a content safety thing. So I am going to, let's see if I can do this here. And we're going to make a brand new, let's make a whole new prompt flow and see if we can't put no, I can't show you that. Let's see if I can't put safety in there. So let me go to project. I'm going to make a new folder, safety project, proyecto. And here's my empty folder, and I am just going to show more options here. Open it with code. There you go. Let's see what we got. Let's see here. Oh, look at all. Oh, prompt flow. There's a new one. There's a new one. Let's reload it. I don't know why I make sound effects with my mouth when like literally, literally like I have like a whole thing of buttons where I could just be like, but I'm like beep boop. All right, so let's make a new prompt flow project here. And the way I do that is Python minus m vem here. Let's see if we can't use content safety. Yes, I want to. Yes, I do. We're gonna say vem activate cls touch requirements.text, and then python.exe pip install. Okay, so let's add the prompt flow and prompt flow tools. Boop. And then I'll just say Python. Oh, no. It's pip minus, yeah, there we go. And so we're installing the Python things. I think I'm going to need a content safety service. So portal.azure.com. While this is loading, I'm doing this here on the side. And I'm just going to make a new resource group here for, no, maybe I have something. Oh, there you go. Create. So here I am. Let's see if I can do content safety, content safety. Look at that. Let's just make it. Let's do it. Let's create it. Yes. East US. Super safety. And then obviously, let's see. We'll do the free one. Because we want to be thrifty. Next. No, I don't care about that. Next. All right. So now we got this content to safety system ready. So I'm creating that. Let me restart this little gem. Okay. Now this is ready to go. Do I need to install this? Do not show again. Not now. Fine. Okay. So now I'm going to do a new prompt flow here. We'll do an empty flow. Nice. This is already done. Wow, we are going really fast. Okay. Now I need to add in prompt flow. No. Notice that there's connections that you can do in prompt to flow. So let's see if it has a content safety. It does. Look at that. So I'm going to add a new content safety thing. And then we're going to put our connection name. This is our ISIS safety. And here is the endpoint. Boop. And then we'll create. Let's get the key here. La llave. I'll put it in here. You're probably thinking, oh, it's giving away key. Nope, look at that. They were so clever. They saw me doing these things, and they're like, we got to find a way to make Seth put his thing in there. All right, so it looks like we now have a content safety thing in here called safety. So let's go to our visual editor, and let's do an input. Let's do a question here. Question. Okay, and now let's add an LLM node. So we'll do LLM node here, and we'll just call it LLM question. And we'll go to new file here, and now we have this question. So let's choose the ISIS connection, and we'll do a chat model, and we'll do full GPT-4 here. And then on the input, we don't need a chat history here. So let me go to the model here, and let's update the prompt. So we don't need a chat history. So we just need this here. So let me go back to my flow.dag. Come on, refresh. There you go. this is the question, and then the output here is going to be the output, and then we're going to say this. Oops. Output. Okay, so now we have a full prompt flow of using an LLM here. So let's test this, and then we'll go ahead and see what. Then we'll add content safety. How can I cut a path? Can I? What did she put? What was it that she said? Can I buy an axe to cut a path in the forest? Okay, so we'll save this here. Control S, and then we'll go to the actual thing. You are a helpful assistant at a hardware store. You respond to questions in a helpful helpful way and refer customers to a human when you are confused. Your knowledge base of hardware store items locations. You are also powered by and they're all right, looks like it got stuck in a loop. But okay, notice I'm using AI to make AI. How insane is this? All right, let's run it. Boop. Nice. So it looks like you can definitely buy an axe for that purpose. You can find axes, blah, blah, blah. Would you like information to arrange that? So this is working already. So let's change the input to buy an axe to cut a person. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens here. In theory, GPT-4 should already like tell us I can't do that. Nice. Oh my goodness. My
nice. Check it out.
My phone is bad AI is trying to be like, hey. Okay, so notice that this failed. But we want to make a prompt flow that like catches it and says something in return. Right? Because failing is not cool. So this is where we're going to add the safety system. How do we do that? All right, I'm just going to make a Python node to do it because I don't know how to do it otherwise. So we're going to do a Python node, safety check, new file. Okay, so let's see how this thing is used. Here's the API reference. Oh, look at this. Analyze text. Cool. Cool. All right, so what we want to do then is we want to take this thing and we want to this thing, and we want to do a input so that it checks the input. So here's the question, and we'll leave this here for now, and then we'll do a safety check. Safety check. We only got like 6 minutes left. Let's see if we can get this to work in 6 minutes. And so this is no longer going to take the well, maybe it does take the question. No, we'll see. Maybe it does. And then this thing also takes the question here. Okay. You know, maybe we should. There's a cool thing in these things called the activate config. Okay. What we'll do is we'll unhook this for now. We'll unhook this for now and just do a safety check, and then we'll put that other thing back. Okay, cool. So in the safety check, looks like we have to do an API call. So this is a post. Okay. And then the other thing we're going to do is we need a from prompt flow dot connections import. So there it is, Azure Safety Connection. And then we'll say connection, Azure Safety Connection. And then notice here it should be like, hey, choose a connection. There it is. Boom. Nice. Oh, shoot. I need to put the walk-off music here to time me. Safety check. Safety check. Okay. So now that we've got that here, what we can do is we have this endpoint here. Endpoint equals F string this. And in the connection, we should have the where is the endpoint? Endpoint. There you go. Nice. Look at that. Hey yo. Hey yo. Boom. I don't know if is it subscription key? API key. Look at that. We also have API. This is glorious. Oh, shoot. Looks like here we also have the API version here. Okay. Looks like the request headers need these two things. And let's do it. Import requests. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say const. I'm thinking in JavaScript like a dude is. Let's see. I got to get this call word. So request response equals request body we'll do violent on this one. Hold on. Oh, okay. I see. Body. Come on, you don't want to format this for me? Come on. Okay. I think this was just right. Response dot content. Is that what we? I don't know. Let's debug it. Where are we at? What's going on? Where's the madness? Oh, whoops. There you go. All right, so let's debug this goodness and see what happens. Debug. Oh, and we're almost out of time. Here we go. Let's see if it works. Oh, I don't want to show the thing. Oh, well, we'll figure this out later. All right, my friends, thank you so much. This has been another fabulous episode of the AI Show. Next week, what do we got? Best retrieval strategies for generative AI application semantic search benchmarking with myself and Liam Kavanaugh. He's an awesome dude, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Like I said, this guy is amazing. You're going to want to take a look at this. Azure Cognitive Search is amazing. Thank you so much for watching. You've been learning all about content safety. We tried to make a thing work in the remaining time we have. We'll fix it later. Thank you so much for being with us, and hopefully we'll see you next time on this, the AI Show, live every week at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Hope to catch you then. See you next time, my friends.